a style and a voice can be different. I mean, you could have a specific voice that you can tie through in a variety of ways, like just your way of thinking can be that's your style,
What's going on? You're listening to episode 60 of the Perspective Podcast, and I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective. This show is about carving out time to build something for yourself and about being open to seeing things from a different perspective. I want to share what is and isn't working for me along with my guest point of view. And two quick announcements right out of the gate for you. Coming up on February 23rd in North Carolina, I'm going to be speaking at AIGA Rally Thrive Conference. And if you're around that area, I highly recommend checking this out. It's going to be dope as hell. And Google AIGA Rally Thrive for more info, or you can register through the link of the show notes, which I'll mention here in a little bit. And you can now find the show on Spotify for you fancy folk out there who don't use Overcast or iTunes, wherever. If you want to go through Spotify now, tell a family, tell your friends, use it yourself. Otherwise, just stick to where you're using it now. That's totally cool as well. But I'm really stoked that they accepted the show on there, so I'm going to be pushing that as well. All right, back to today's show. You are in for an absolute treat. I have a very special guest, and it is none other than the Mark Caneso. And Mark operates under the name Paperwork Studio, kill the vowels, just like Perspective Collective on Instagram. And not only does he run Paperwork Studio, but he also runs PS Type Lab, which is a type foundry and also a home for his products. And one of his products that I just got recently was the sweet Apple Pencil sticker wraps. I love them. This dude is a genius when it comes to products. Not only does Mark make amazing typefaces you can find on Adobe Typekit, but he's also made a name for himself pushing letters to the extreme. For real, check out his Instagram account over at Mark Caneso. His account will hurt your brain in all the right ways with his ambigrams, his encrypted messages, and just super wild experiments. And not only is he crazy talented, but he is a genuine down-to-earth guy who shows you the behind the scenes of his process, which I highly respect in people who do that. So a brief rundown, today's episode, Mark's going to give you a permission slip to constantly play, share unpolished work, break the rules, push the boundaries, create things you want to see in the world, and so much more. You can follow along and check out his work and anything we mentioned in the show notes over at perspective-collective.com/60. And if you think someone can find value in this episode, please give it a share on social media. It's because of your word of mouth that this show keeps growing, and I'm crazy appreciative of it. You know that. Finally, a lot of people have been catching some inspiration from the show, and they've been creating some work and tagging me over on Instagram. Well, if you tag Perspective Podcast on Instagram, I will happily share your work and give you a plug over there too. Let's get into the show. Today I'm joined by typographic lettering sorcerer Mark Caneso, and I've been trying to get him on the show for a while. We finally linked something up going into the holidays. I'm stoked we made this happen. How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You're in Portland area?
Yeah, I'm in Portland now. We've been here for about just over 2 years. Came from, before that, we were in Hawaii for a year and a half.
That's what your Skype name says. That's why I was confused.
Oh, does it still say that?
Yeah. I was like, but your Instagram says Portland, so.
Yeah, well, it says, my Twitter says Austin soon, because that's coming up next. So.
Austin, Texas?
Yeah.
When's that?
Well, we go in January to go look for a house, and then we're going to move in the beginning of March.
Austin's awesome. I'm a big fan of that. So here we go. This is what I'm talking about with the tangents. So let's just dive right in. If you can give the audience like a quick, brief Wikipedia page summary about yourself.
Sure. My name is Mark Caneso. I was born in 1979. I'll let you guys do the math on how old I am, because I think some people think I'm younger than I am, probably just because of the way I act. But I grew up in Southern California, I went to Otis College of Art and Design, where I got my BA in graphic design. And I've just been working in type design and graphic design ever since. Mostly graphic design. I mean, that's where my career started, working with smaller agencies, and I've always done work. Even when I had day job for with a studio, I always did projects on the side. And then it was like 2008. I actually was let go from my job that I had. The company was basically folding.
It's like corporate.
It was a smaller studio, but they had a lot of real estate that it all bottomed out. Mm-hmm. So they lost all their clients, and so everybody was given the boot. But I had enough work at the time where I was like, well, I'm not going to look for another job, and I just kind of kept going since then.
Yeah. So. Well, how did you get into your love of letter forms? Is that something you kind of just discovered along the way, or did you learn it in art school? Did they actually teach you like lettering and, breakdown typography? Yeah. So wasn't a typeface, but the first lettering I ever did was just for a poster in a community college. I had seen some type that I liked, but I didn't have the access to that font or even know what it was. So I was like, well, I can just draw the letters that I need. And so very geometric in it, like copy paste, cut and paste kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I started doing that for a lot of my stuff just because I was like, well, I can kind of make it how I want it to look. And then at Otis, I did take a couple type design classes. And then one of my instructors, and then one of my bosses, he's actually a type designer. He runs Lux Typographics out of LA. Okay.
That was back in 2004. So I just really got into just if I was a graphic designer, I can take my own pictures, and use that photography in my work, but I also need type. And so it's like, well, why can't I just try to create the type that I want to use? And so that's kind of why I started creating or trying to figure out how to create fonts in general. So
when did you really start experimenting with letters? And I'm going to link all this stuff in the show notes too, just some of your crazy work, like the ambigrams. And when did you start using Instagram as a tool to start sharing these wild ass ideas that you have?
Well, I didn't start Instagram until 2014 or the end of 2013, I think it was. But at first it was, I was just taking awful pictures and putting whatever filter I could find on them. But when we moved to Hawaii, we didn't know anybody there. And then my wife had an accident. And so we were kind of at home a lot. And so for that, I just started drawing. I was using okay, I need to get out of the type I had been drawing. I wanted to try to change it up. And I felt like I was kind of stalling out on ideas. So I was like, well, let me just do something I know could never be a typeface and just draw that. And that kind of led me to explore a lot more. And it's kind of fueled the last couple years of my type design side.
Where do you even get the ideas for some of your stuff? Some of your stuff recently, like that New Year's piece, that totally threw me through a loop. I sat there just scrolling and looking at that thing forever, and I could not figure it out until finally someone else commented what it actually said. So it's you have to decipher some of your work.
Oh yeah, that's I don't know, that's just something it's intrigued me recently, and I just want to keep pushing it, just to kind of put as many words and hidden message meanings into stuff. It's wild, man. I don't see anybody else doing that. Yeah, I don't know, but it's just the way my mind works on this stuff. So
because you have one end of the spectrum, you have your typeface design, super clean. Some of the stuff that you see, more utility typefaces that you see within the world, and then you have something on the clear end of the spectrum. I can't function on that clean, simple side, but yet you can dive into both. It feels like interchangeably.
Yeah, and I think trying to do both ends of the spectrum, and then kind of figure out where's the middle ground on stuff, or how far can you push one thing before, all right, now it needs to backtrack a little bit in order to function in that way. But yeah, and then the ambigram stuff. I'm just on a mission now to make every word read both any way you look at it.
Does everything start with thumbnail sketches?
Oh yeah, awful little sketching. Most of the time it's can I even make this thing? Does it even have the letters that could even possibly make it read in multiple ways? So yeah, if you saw my sketches, most people would probably laugh.
Well, you're pretty good about sharing the process in the first place, and a lot of people get wrapped up in seeing super polished pieces on a platform, just back to back to back posts, and it kind of just trips everyone out thinking like they could never do that too. So I think that was another big reason why I was attracted to your work, is that you share the process, the work in progresses. So I see like the garbage shit in the beginning, and then to like the end polished.
That was the final piece, dude.
Yeah, right. Well, a lot of people think that. So like I'm big on sharing the process. And have you always been like that, kind of sharing behind the scenes? Because some people are super competitive for no reason.
Yeah, no, I am actually pretty competitive, and I don't like the way I draw most of the time. Like, I mean,
what do you mean?
In the sense of like, I feel like it could be better.
Kind of just your own process, though. It's not like some wizard like Ken Barber taught you or something.
Yeah, I have actually taken a couple classes from him too.
Yeah, he blew my mind. I took one at Creative Works, and I'm just like, wow, I suck. And I just threw my pencils on the floor and ripped up my paper.
So sharing the stuff on like the bad sketches on Instagram kind of helped me, just like, this is not precious. Like, this is just a stupid idea. Now, you can choose to make it better, or you can leave it as it is. So the sharing of the sketches for me was actually the hardest part. Like, cause I would want to like, okay, this is an awful sketch. Now let me go make it like look super cool offline, and then post that like it's my, the only thing I did, but it's not necessary. So, and then a lot of it was just exploration. So if it wasn't going to go farther than, whatever sketch it was, that was it. So it was fine. I was just kind of like, just be more consistent about sharing the stuff. Mm-hmm. And,
do you ever like have a sketch that just isn't working out, then you just leave it alone, and maybe down the road you come back and revisit that same thing? Does that ever happen to you? Like, an idea finally comes and hits you, because your stuff is so wild. I don't know. Like,
I usually draw like very, very tiny things, and just I post it. Like, this is not good for audio, but I have just like,
God, it's great for me. Holy crap.
Just stuff stuck up on the wall that I'll hope to get to in, down the road. That the piece that I sent you with the embossed piece, but that was on my wall for probably over a year of it was just like written down what I wanted it to say. And I just wasn't sure what form, or wanted to spend the time on it really. So it just goes up on the wall, and then at some point I'll either get to it or just throw it away. Like, okay, it's not going to come to anything.
Instead of forcing it, because I'm guilty of just forcing things sometimes, especially because like I get a deadline. I have a podcast next week, and I'm trying to force this artwork for the episode artwork, and I'm like, whatever, done better than perfect. But some of those sketches just live in little field notes, and I file them away, and I don't ever look at them. But like sticking them up on a little corner of the wall, I never thought about that. I'd love to get a photo of that to put in the show notes so people can see what I'm looking at.
Cool. Yeah.
If you're okay with that. Of it. Yeah.
I will. I'll make sure nothing that's up there that can't be seen.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, I tend to do that too. Like, I had for the longest, and I still kind of do. I don't like to draw in sketchbooks, because I feel like it becomes like, oh, this whole sketchbook should look great. Mm-hmm. And my drawings are so awful most of the time. It's just to get the idea down so that I don't forget it, or like I can come back to it. So I'll draw on like little pieces of paper, and then like this is not for this is not for audio, but these are in Hawaii. I kept all these little pieces of paper that I drew on, and it's just little snippets that most of the time just have like, a small little word. It says brutal, and then
so do you keep everything that you draw for the most part?
I do keep a lot, and I need to throw it away.
No, don't.
Like, see this here, this one it's just a middle finger with a little paper bag on his head. And I'm like, I don't know, that could be a thing. It could be an illustration, or it could be something at some point, some stupid icon. But yeah, I need to. And then with our move coming up too, I'm like, damn, I got to throw some of this stuff away. I can't keep.
Man, you gotta keep it, because that's like the stuff someday you'll look back on. Like, I'm weird. I have that clutter mentality of like holding sentiment. What's it called? Man, not clutter. You know what I'm talking about. Whatever, people who like to collect too much. But I have that with my drawings. Like, I have everything I've drawn since like first grade. and
okay.
like little archivable things. So I don't know. I'd feel,
Okay, if you're looking through them and it brings you back, you're just like, I can't throw that away because that, you know, was because of this, or yeah.
So how has everything led you to starting your own studio paperwork? And you kill the vowels in yours just like I kill the vowels in mine. So
Yeah.
I didn't feel so dumb when I saw someone like you doing it too, because I'm like, man, I made this really hard for people to find me on Instagram. So tell us a little bit more about your studio paperwork, and what are some of the typical clients that you work with, and how did you even get to the point where you started it? Because a lot of people are interested. How do they start the name of their business instead of Mark Caneso Graphics or Scotty.D.Russell Studio? Because it all sounds a little douchey in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That I've always been a fan of just not having. Well, Instagram is mine. I like to create a variety of things so that people. I like to create confusion in that way. But the name came about actually when I was helping my wife move from one apartment at one point to another place. We were just labeling some of the boxes, and this one was paperwork, and I wrote it without the vowels, and I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, and it was one of those like, oh, let me just take a note of that. And then when I decided to create a website for my portfolio, I didn't want to have my name, and I was kind of like, well, I have paperwork because I do a lot of work on paper, and it's also one of those kind of people. It's mundane, and people have a reference to what it is, but then I can kind of switch it up somehow. So it's Paperwork Studio, and then I created the type side of it, which is still me, but it was PS Type is just Paperwork Studio Type.
Okay. That was throwing me through the ringer. I could not figure out what PS Type Lab came from, but I guess that's way more easier than I was thinking. I was thinking too deep into it.
What did you think it meant?
I had no idea. Like at the end of something serious, you're like, hey, PS.
Oh, postscript type.
Postscript, yeah. I was like, I don't know. What kind of work do you do under paperwork then? And like, what's your typical clients that you have? You have like a lettering division, a type design division, and like products?
Yeah, sort of. So paperwork is, like I said, it's just always been my online portfolio, kind of like my online moniker. And but most of the people that I work with just know me as Mark, you know? So I did work with a lot of just studios, like kind of freelance. And I've always had the like trying to figure out, am I a freelancer or do I have my own business? Well, it's both. You know, it's people now are hiring or commissioning me to do stuff, but I just run it through my business is Paperwork Studio. So whether you're going Paperwork Studio, Mark Caneso, or PS Type, it's all just me. Yeah. But with paperwork, I did for the longest time just every kind of graphic design you could think of, like a lot of book design, a lot of identity work, which kind of helps with the type design stuff, because you could draw a custom logo type and kind of think like, oh, can this become a working font? You know, will it function in that way?
Do most of your clients hit you up for more custom lettering, custom logos, or custom type design?
Yeah. So for the last couple of years, lettering and logos have been kind of what's kept me going. And then and actually a few custom type faces. I saw along with my own retail releases, but yeah. So I've been knee deep in letters for several years now.
So your own kind of type foundry is PS Type.
Yeah.
How did you even get into typeface design? Because some people just think you can spend a weekend drawing something out and putting it together and putting it on Creative Market, and that seems to be the new wave of type design, font designs, and it's not the case of a true typeface designer. Like what got you into it? How do you have the patience for it? And what's like your program of choice, like glyphs or? So
I need to learn glyphs. I'm still using FontLab. Please don't kill me.
Okay.
People.
I don't know how to make it at all. So to me, that's already way more than I know.
But yeah, again, it was always like, I want to make typefaces that I can use in my work. And so that's kind of what started. Started with me. What I would want to use. And I feel like I am my own audience because I'm a designer. So if I want to use it, hopefully there's other people out there who want to use it too. And so all my type is available not only through my site, but it's all with Adobe Typekit. So I'm a Foundry
I've seen them.
Yeah.
I have someone downloaded at my day job computer. So
but I've been with Typekit even before they were with Adobe. Jason Santa Maria was the creative director of Typekit originally, and he connected me with the people who started Typekit, and so I got kind of involved with them. And then just as of earlier this year, everything I have is now available with them. Because at first it was a few select things, but now all of my designs are.
How does that happen? Do they license you out?
Yeah, so I have a contract with Typekit with Adobe to so that they can have it on their site.
That's dope. That's just like mailbox money. If you see those shows where you just get the mailbox money and just stash it away, you just got that in the back always going, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Does it just trip you out when you see your work out in the world? Which is probably some of the most random business and corporations.
It is. I've seen the surprise usages of my work, of my typefaces, and being able to be a part of somebody else's work, and without necessarily even them knowing it. It's like, well, I did that thing and you used that thing to make your thing, so we kind of collaborated in that way. It's like,
especially
cool.
If you didn't even you envisioned it for yourself in a totally different light and it's being used in a totally different manner. I could only imagine.
Yeah, it's super cool to see. So, so use it more in your work too.
I will. I work at the corporation. I'll start plugging it in there too and be like, hey, this is my buddy's typeface.
You should try this one out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it. Kind of you and I were talking at the beginning, just chit-chatting, and you asked me why I wanted you on the show. And for me, I've been a fan of yours. It's easily been 2 years now on Instagram. I can't remember if I found you through the Explorer page or through our mutual friend Bob Ewing or some type of good type feature. Who knows? But what really drew me to yours is because I've been so stuck on feeling I had to have this curated style. I had to be known for one way of doing things. And for you totally throw that shit out the window. You're all over the place. I don't think you even think about what people would care about when you post your work. And I think that's actually an important quality because so many people are tied to the validation, the likes. I have to keep it curated because this is what people want to see. But I think, like you said it earlier, you create things that you want to see.
Yeah.
And you're consistently inconsistent like I am. And that I really look up to people who can do that.
I think that comes from the graphic design side of me where, you do stuff you should be doing stuff that's appropriate for whatever you're doing. So if you're just doing the same thing over and over, or you're just using the same typeface or, whatever, it's kind of like, well, then you're not really thinking about it. You're just kind of defaulting to, this is what I'm going to do, and that's cool. Like some people they do that. I mean, that's why I'm going to commission this person because they do this work this way and we want that for our thing. But it's not right for everything. And
I think that's what trips me up is because I feel like in order to attract a specific freelance project, I need this one style. And that trips me up at times when really, keep doing my own style and maybe that one piece will resonate with someone who wants that specific style. I don't know.
Yeah, a style and a voice can be different. You could have a specific voice that you can tie through in a variety of ways, just your way of thinking can be that's your style,
That's good. So why do you continue to push new styles and boundaries and instead of just curating one, as many influencers would say, what drives you to keep pushing the envelope on stuff? Because your stuff is one of a kind, man. It really is.
I get bored.
Perfect. I think that's a great answer. I get bored.
Yeah. I mean,
creating the same style.
I actually never, as well. I never, when I was doing mostly graphic design, I was always like, nah, I can never do type design full time because I don't think I just want to draw letter forms, because I think at that point I was probably only thinking about letters have to look a specific way. So just as I do more of it, I'm, and like I said, these last couple of years, I've pretty much dropped, and unless it was a piece for myself, I haven't been commissioned to, design a book or anything like that. It's all been logos, letters, typefaces, that kind of stuff.
Let's pivot from there. What's next then for Paperwork Studio or for you and your personal explorations? Do you want to do books, or what's something that you want to do that, I don't know, keeps you up at night, that gets you excited? You you make some dope products, but like, what's that next thing, you know, that you really want to push yourself to do?
Well, I've done some stuff in like that's dimensional. Like I've had, but it again, it started flat, but then I've had things produced in like in dimension, like
that wood thing behind you.
Yeah. This up here.
Yeah.
That's actually cardboard. But yeah, so I'll do that sometimes too, because like I have a flat graphic, but I want it to have some dimension, so I'll just cut it out of something. You know, I'll just draw it on a bigger piece of cardboard or a piece of paper or something, just to give it that feel.
What's that satisfy? Because I get so stuck in that paper world at times, and I don't have that. I have a drive to do something different, but I don't think about it until I see someone like you carving things out of foam or cardboard.
Yeah, because then it adds a level of interaction with, like, oh, this thing is now a tangible thing I can grab or pick up or touch, or even, like I can show you this too. This is not going to be good for. I made these. This was a letter form from a typeface, and I had it cut out of foam, water jet cut out of foam. But then it's just like, it felt fat on screen, but now it feels fatter in person, you know? Like, it just feels like it has weight to it. And yeah, I don't know.
I think it all ties into, because so many people are trying to fit in with the trend instead of standing out from the noise, trying to rise above this saturated feel that is lettering on a piece of paper, calligraphy. Like, that's already given me ideas of how can I take this idea that's just on paper, like I've always done, but how can I push it to that next level to maybe help me stand out from the next person? And going dimensional is something I've honestly never ever thought about. I've always thought maybe drawing on something like a crazy object like Ian Barnard does, just draws on the craziest shit possible, but I've never thought about tangibly making things to hold. Like that G, again, stuff like that I want to show in the show notes that relates to the episode in a sense. Yeah,
because so like I and some of these, although they're sketches of a thing and they become like, I'll like kind of get to a point where I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like the one that you were looking at there is the home and away ambigram.
Yeah.
So after I'd drawn that, I didn't have any thought. I was like, you know what, this could be cool. What could this be used for? What could I actually do with it now that I got this artwork, but I don't really have anything for it. So it kind of backwards working. I was like, wow, what if and that's when I made the floor mat. I turned it into a floor mat. So like if I put this art onto a floor mat, now it goes at the front of a door, and as you approach it, as you approach it, you see one message. As you leave, you see another.
Dude. Wow. You're really, really, honestly, I think you're on the show more just for me right now. Because like I get so locked in and I don't think about that next step of like, what can I do with this now? It's like, this is a 5x7. I could either sell it real quick to someone who wants to own the original, or I just file it away in my little expandable folder or put it in my shop real quick. I've never thought, what can I do with it after that to, bring it to the next level? And I think that helps with people. I had Dustin Lee of Retro Supply on, and he's talking about how can you make your first product, or what are things that can bring value to someone's world. And like a doormat like that's so novel, like that. I'm sure that would sell like crazy on some of those places that sell like the craziest the merch, or you know those sites. They sell like just I can't think of them. Usually I just follow something on Twitter, but just shares like wild, insane products like a doormat. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, so the way they're currently it's made is just through Society 6.
Okay.
So the quality is not all that great.
Yeah.
Like, so I've looked into and talked to a couple people about having them produced, and then I just haven't figured out how to, because I like the idea too, like more.
Genius.
But I just don't know. I don't want to put the time into research and because I don't want to order, thousands and thousands of units and then be sitting on these things.
I know.
That's kind of why I just I'll just do a couple for myself, and if people like them, cool. If I have extras, I'll sell them, but if not, it's just kind of for me.
I'd buy one because I'm a little bit over of what we have outside. It's like peace, love, happiness kind of stuff that my wife probably got at Hobby Lobby. I'd rather have something like that. So what would you tend to prefer, in analog or digital, or do you like combining both worlds equally, or does everything start off analog? Like you do some iPad stuff too in Procreate, right?
Yeah, I've been playing with it. I haven't figured out how to work it completely into my flow.
It hurts my brain too.
So
I'm like forcing myself to use it. And it's really hard, but it's
one of those, like, you just have to, it's different for me for sure than drawing on paper.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to keep playing with it. And, you know, like anything, the more you use it, the better you'll get at it. But, I do draw. So you can choose brushes and stuff, but I don't feel like I'm a calligrapher. I don't have that kind of ability. I draw letters. I don't write them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I find myself just using like I made a pencil that I like, and I'll just use that. So basically I'm working exactly the same way as I do on paper.
Well, you're making iPad products now that I know I'm getting as a stocking stuffer. Like, where did that idea come from, doing like pencil wrap or Apple pencil wraps? Yeah, so, that thing's pretty awesome.
It's literally awesome.
Uh-huh.
So this one, just staring at this blank white pencil, I was like, I have to make something on this. Actually, I was trying to figure out how to charge it without sticking it in the bottom of the iPad and having it sticking out. So I was like, I have one of those Grove made stands for my phone.
Yeah. And
I put the little extension piece onto it, and then I stood it up in it, and it actually charged.
Dude, you know, they make these crazy things.
Oh, see, that's what I want to make. I want to make something that just holds the stand.
Man, please make it, because I'm like going on Amazon fishing for like Apple product. Man, see, that's even great though, because they say find a need in the world and make it, but like you kind of totally go from a different route of, if you see something that you want, then you make it.
Yeah, most of the time people don't want it also.
But still, a lot of people are discouraged to even make something for themselves because they think they have to sell it to 1 million people.
No, I've gotten big, especially in the last few years. Like, if I want to make something, I'm going to figure out a way to at least make one or two for myself. And
prototypes,
then,
in a sense.
Yeah. And if people, you know, ask about it, cool, we'll figure out how to get them one too. But, yeah.
Speaking of side projects too, I've been wanting to ask about this for a while. Letter Farm, like, what's the initiative? What's the initiative behind Letter Farm? And for those who don't know, what is Letter Farm?
So right now, Letter Farm is it exists as an Instagram account that is just a collaboration of so Bob and I's. We just use it as a platform to just try other stuff. It started with a drawing I did that was supposed to say letter form, but the O looked like an A, and I knew it looked like an A, and Bob decided he was gonna call me out on it. He's like, "What's Letter Farm?" And I'm like, "It doesn't say Letter Farm, but I like that name, so we should do something." And then he was like, "Cool." And so I was like, "All right, let's do it."
I mean, Inch by Inch just started with a little crazy idea, and look where that's at now. So
yeah, so we actually we're about a year. Letter Farm has been alive for a year now. We made our first post, I think it was December 16th. So for this year, it's really just been like another account that we can share things on that we might not want to put on our normal account, or it was like a process shot of something we did put, or we did a thing where we were passing a sketch back and forth, and then we have an idea where it's going to become something, but we haven't. It's just, it's just a
like
side.
In person passing it back and forth.
Yeah, like Bob drew something, and then he sent me the sketch, and then I drew over it, and
like
then
I mailed it, or
no,
okay,
no. He just
like some
took
snail
a picture.
mail, like a real legit. Okay, I was to say, damn, that's like next level. But ancient at the same time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You guys are really taking it back.
Yeah. So really, basically, it's just an account to give you a permission slip to go push the envelope on things. Yeah. Well, I definitely see Bob pushing his work towards, like, what would you say? How you've always been pushing your work. You definitely see Bob's growth within his letter forms getting more wild, loose, crazy. Not
and we ask each other
breaking the rules, like knowing the rules so you can break them.
Yeah, or just being like, why do they have to be rules for stuff? Like it kind of comes back to the ambigram situation. Is a lot of times there'll be one, like a letter in amongst the word that's kind of like, well, that doesn't necessarily look like it. Well, I just ask, can you read it? like, does it read as it? Because if you start looking at each individual thing, maybe those pieces individually don't like, oh, that's not an R, that's an L or something like that. But if you can read the whole thing, then what does it matter what that one is, you know? So, or if you can figure it out, or if you can make someone stare at it for a second to try to figure it out.
That's generally what happens. Is like I was just scrolling late at night before I go to bed, just aimlessly scrolling for no reason, and it typically lands on your work, and I have to just stop and stare, zoom in a little bit, ask my wife what that says, and then I go back and then I'll comment or ask you. So
yeah, I hope that every time I post something, people are like flipping their phones around, even if it doesn't, because then it's like I want them to take a second look at it.
You definitely built some persona that it definitely it bends my mind for real. Like it makes me stop and think, and I think that's, you know, kind of a niche in itself of a name you're building for yourself behind it. Do you guys have any plans for Letter Farm moving forward? I know you put some products out, or did you do a T-shirt, maybe a print?
Yeah, we did a shirt, and we're gonna do a giveaway, but it's just gonna be of our, like, just some random stuff that we've got. I mean, we talked about like, oh, maybe we could do I was like, oh, we could bring you to Portland to do a workshop, and it'll be like a Letter Farm workshop, and then you can, like, Bob could do his vector thing or something, but it's timing doesn't work on that. So
yeah,
we'll figure it out. I don't know. We're not making any serious, like, specific direction with it. Just kind of seeing how it goes.
I mean, if you're moving to Austin, that's where Brooke from Good Type is. Have you ever thought about, she's always hosting some kind of crazy workshops. Like, that would be insane. Like a Letter Farm lettering, then vector machine.
Yeah.
2-part.
I could do that. Yeah, maybe.
Austin's popping with that. So, like, lots of cool things going on there. Maybe a little serious. I don't want it to always be like highlights and stuff, but what's like one of the biggest struggles you've had over the years, kind of finding your voice or niche in the creative industry, or just getting confidence of sharing your work? Because that was really hard for me.
Yeah, I definitely think the sharing of unpolished, unfinished work is something that I would say I still hesitate, you know, to show some stuff sometimes, where I'm like, no, because I can do better work than this. Like, I should not show this, you know, I should not show people this. So yeah, the sharing of work was something for sure that I struggle with. Just being able to talk about your work, or even mostly I'd say talk. This is probably the hardest thing I do. I don't like talking about myself.
I know. I can tell, man.
If there was a third person in this conversation, I would feel way more comfortable, because I can deflect, or, you know, I can respond to other things, or crack stupid jokes and then jump to the back of the room. Like, you know,
you can still crack stupid jokes. I appreciate if you have any dad jokes or any puns, man. I'm all about that. Honestly, you're killing it right now. There's so many things that I'm already taking away. I can't wait to package this one up. So, I mean, have you ever thought about like does public speaking or any of that interest you?
So I did a workshop here last year. There was a conference called We Make.
Okay.
And I just did it was actually not small. There was like probably too many people in it. There was like 30 or 40 people. And I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to talk about myself, so I was just trying to put them to work. But it was kind of like, at first it went off, it was like people were just confused as to what we were doing.
It was like a workshop / talk.
Well, I didn't do the talk. I didn't really do a talk.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a workshop. But I was trying to get them. I was like, look, a lot of times people don't give themselves the time to just like play around or like explore. So that's what this time is going to be. And I kind of gave them a couple prompts of like, okay, now just draw X, you know, whatever. And they just stared at me. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what to draw. I'm not going to show you how to draw. I just want you to try, like, just draw.
And stream of conscious, just let it go.
It didn't go over that great at the beginning, but I think as things got going, and then when we moved into like, I had an ambergram portion, people were kind of stoked on that. And then like things started happening and stuff like that. So, I met a guy I was at Adobe Max this year. Yeah. As part of the Typekit booth. I met a guy from Florida, Victor.
What he spoke at Creative South. He's been at Creative South a couple times.
Oh, he was wondering if I'd come down and like do a talk for their chapter. And
is he at UCF or where's he at? He's in Orlando, right?
Yeah. He's in Orlando.
God, what is Victor? That's gonna bug me right now, but I mean, I could see you killing shit over at like Creative South or something like that. Have you ever thought about like, have you attended many conferences like that?
I've gone to, I'm not gonna get his name. Sorry, I can't remember his last name. Davila, Victor Davila.
Yes, his name was hard to say for me, but
Yeah.
yeah, Victor's awesome.
I go to conferences like I was going to TypeCon for a few years, and then there was one in San Francisco called Typo SF that was put on by Font Shop.
Mm-hmm.
They do not do the San Francisco one anymore. They just do the one in Berlin. And I went to Typographics last year for the first time in New York.
How was that? I heard a lot of good things about that.
Yeah, no, that was cool. But then, so this year I was like, I'm going to go to Max and not go to TypeCon.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, I'm going to go to talk to people who use the type versus the people who make it. So that was cool to kind of see that side of it. Because
there's a ton of people at Adobe Max too, like
Bob
and Brian French Paper, like Draplin, DKNG, Clark Orr, Mama Sauce, Nick Sambrato.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow. I wish I could have went.
Yeah, it was cool. I was. So a lot of them were there for the French, they had their own booth,
mm-hmm.
but some of those people were just there for the marketplace, not just the marketplace, but it was like they had to set up for one day. Whereas I had to be part of that thing for 3 days, and man.
Oh, that I probably taxed your ass, huh? And just out.
I was stood in a little triangle corner, and I just said, like, repeated myself over and over.
What did you have to talk about? Like, hey, use my font. Use my font.
Yeah, well, most people were like, "What is this? What do you do? Like, what do you have here?" Because I had stuff that I was selling as well, and then I had like giveaways, and but we were part of a bigger booth, so like it kind of confused people. Like, what are you? Are you Typekit? And they'd ask me like, why are my fonts not syncing? And I'm like, dude, you need to go talk to that
talk to support.
Right over there.
I have that all the time. Like, why? I have to sign out, sign back in, restart. Like, come on.
But yeah, so it was cool. It was definitely it was different, and but it was fun to just kind of bullshit with people.
And be in Vegas, did you go out and get crunk?
No, I was exhausted.
Real quick, so before we go into rapid fire questions, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a creative who struggles starting or sticking with something? Because that's a lot of people in this audience.
I don't know. It's hard to. I mean, they need to get past something of themselves that says they can't do it. I know there's a lot of people who, they need a little bit of extra help and like in terms of like encouragement. Mm-hmm. So I hope they can get that from somebody. But then there's also, I came from a family of a lot of tough love. So it's kind of like, you don't want to do it, fucking don't do it. Like, I'm not going to tell you to do it, and I'm not going to help you do it. So you have to
figure shit out on your own.
You have to figure it out. And if that means like baby steps of like, okay, I'm going to try and do this small thing, whatever that is. And it doesn't have to be, I don't know if you have to kind of funnel it so that it feels like a success, but not everything's going to be that.
Mm-hmm. Because there's going to be plenty of times where you put out some garbage. I know for me, I've put out so much shitty work. Like for me, I can look back at the end of 2017 and I've created a lot of work, man, but there's maybe only like 3 or 4 pieces that I'm like, this is gold. I'm proud of this. And I don't know, for me, a lot of people get wrapped up in thinking shit has to look amazing that first draft, which is important for people like you and me to share that work in progress. That's why I'm big on it.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like sometimes people will give up, like if something doesn't happen for them right away. And it's like, I'm at the point of like, well, sorry, I'm not gonna babysit you, so I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a good.
No, I think it's
a
perfect.
Good bit of advice, because I'm like, if there was a lot of students like at Otis in the class that just wouldn't do the work, and you see some teachers will like try to like encourage them, but sometimes it's like that's a waste of time because they barely even want to be here. So if you don't really want to be doing it, don't do it. Like, go do something else. Go do something that you actually want to do.
No, I think it's awesome, man. Let's switch it up. Rapid fire. This is my favorite one. If you were on death row, what would be your last slice of pizza?
What did I do to be on death row?
Shit, dude. I don't know.
Pepperoni.
Any specific brand? Frozen pizza? I don't know.
Frozen. No,
dude, someone said their favorite piece of pizza was Totino's, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I've never had anything but Totino's.
I'm like, have you left college or what?
I'm a big fan of doing the pizzas straight on the barbecue. So we've been, you just
like grilling them or?
Yeah, grilled.
Okay.
You throw the dough on, let the dough heat up a bit. You flip it over. You put your toppings on.
Like you roll your own dough?
Well, my wife will make it and then we'll roll it out. Yeah.
So you make your own pizza. Awesome. I'm so lazy. We made.
But you can get some dough like pre-made.
That's usually me. I'm usually that delivery person because I'm chilling on a Friday night. I just want to smash. Okay, well, I respect that. It's supposed to be rapid fire, but no, I'm again tangents. I want to know.
Yeah.
All right, pepperoni. That's me too. I keep it simple.
You can go triple pepperoni if you want to get crazy.
I'm cool with that. I just don't like all that meat. Like meat lovers, no thanks, dude. I don't need I don't need sausage. I'm good on that.
3 different kinds of sausage. You got your spicy sausage. You got your Italian sausage.
What's the third kind? Summer sausage?
Chorizo.
Chorizo.
No.
All right, I'll eat that in a taco or something. But, all right. What program would you live in each day if you had a choice?
I just live in?
Yeah. Like for me, it would be Illustrator.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to choose one, I'd probably have to go Illustrator.
I'm about that vector life. Yep.
Yeah.
That's why Procreate's fucking with me.
Yeah. So I know. That's why I feel like I would use it more if it could export or you can use vector art in it. And I just heard of one the other day called Concepts app.
Is that the one Vaughn Glitchka
is
using?
So Vaughn, who's just south of me. He's in Salem.
Have you linked up with him?
No, we've chatted a few times, but I need to either go down there before we leave or something.
So that one is vector based?
Concepts is vector based. Yeah, I was just about to download it to and try and play around with it, but
awesome. You'll have to let me know what you think, and I'll have to dive into it too. And that's just native within the iPad?
No, I think it's free, but I think they charge you for various things.
I didn't mean native. But you can get it in the iPad.
Oh yeah. And then I've not played around enough with the Adobe Draw, which I know it does export vector stuff. Mm-hmm. But the Capture app's pretty cool because I've used it a couple times to just quickly vectorize stuff. Mm-hmm. And
kind of like image traces, something that you find in the wild.
Yeah, or even a drawing. Like I'll draw something and I'll use that and then just clean it up, so it's already vector.
Yeah, I have some shit to figure out, man. Kyle Latendra, that dude just uses like a Cintiq in Illustrator, and I'm just like, I don't understand how that dude comes up with stuff.
You could use somebody was telling me about AstroPad.
Yeah. I have a couple buddies who use AstroPad, and they just like sync it up with their iPad, and it turns that into a Cintiq. So lots of things that I'm trying to experiment with in the new year. Wow, I'm really screwing up this rapid fire stuff.
That's okay.
I like this conversation part. Who's like an artist, some type of designer or creative who you think has just been killing shit lately?
Let's see. Well, all the dudes. Are you familiar with High on Type?
No.
Oh, you should look up High on Type.
I'll put it in the.
It's a collective of people, so I can't think of their name. I only know them by their handles.
Kind of like a Friends of Type ordeal, or.
Yeah, they're in the Netherlands, I believe, is where they're based out of. I did a poster for an event they had earlier this year called All Eyes on Type. So they do a lot of workshops, and it's like I forget how many there are, but they have some amazing stuff coming out of there.
How'd you find them? Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram. And then on illustration side, a big fan of. Are you familiar with Burnt Toast Creative?
Yes, Burnt Toast Creative. Yeah. Those crazy, wacky illustrations.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Do you know who that person is, or?
Yeah. Well, I don't know him personally. I've had a couple
brief micro interactions.
Yeah, micro interactions.
Dope work. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Thanks. But yeah, big fan of that. And they're two totally different visuals. If you look at the work that the High on Type guys do, and then what the Burnt Toast guy is so different. But
yeah, his stuff is one of a kind for sure. Script serif or sans serif?
Just depends on the application, man. You can't just choose one.
What would you lean towards?
I would lean towards what's appropriate for the usage.
You made this way harder than it needed to be. Okay.
I'm trying to slow the rapid fire down. That looked like it was going to get too quick of an answer. Like, just say one word.
All right. I'll be completely honest. I'm on like 6 or 7 people in a row that say sans serif.
Okay, I'll say script then.
Thank you. Oh my God. Yes, I knew it. We vibe so well. I'm script all day, man. Okay, then what's your favorite typeface excluding yours?
Oh,
excluding yours. Yep.
Again, it's the same kind of thing though. I don't want to have a favorite typeface.
Okay, let's put some context around it.
I'm on death row and I have my piece of pizza. What typeface am I gonna?
What typeface would be on the pizza box branding?
Vag round.
All right. Somebody said like slab serif, and then I don't know if you know Jason Craig. He always come up with some out of the box answer too. So I think you're challenging him right now and not following protocol, but that's all right. You're the guest. Last thing, where can people go to find you online?
I have a few areas. I have a paperwork studio. That's where you'll see like lettering and like graphic design work. PS Type Lab is my retail foundry site, and on Instagram at Mark Caneso.
Caneso, Caneso.
Caneso. That's right.
Caneso or Caneso.
Not Conseco, not Conejo.
Conejo. Are you on Dribble actively or like Behance or anything anymore? I don't know if people still use that much.
I do post occasionally on both of those. Usually you will have seen it somewhere else first, but I'll usually keep it populated with stuff.
Do you want people to find you on Twitter at all?
On Twitter, no. I mean, I'm so that's the thing is like on Twitter, I have my that's PS Type Lab.
That's the first time I ever saw your PS Type Lab name was on Twitter. I'm like, who the hell is this?
Who the hell is this?
Yeah. I'm like, whose work is this? It looks really like it looks like Mark's, but I mean, it's not Mark. So that was the first time threw me through a rut, man. Yeah.
So like I said, I like to confuse people. So I have Paperwork Studio, I have PS Type, and then Paperwork Studio, I decided to create a lettering department. That's why Pencil Pusher's lettering department.
Oh man, and that's a dope design too. All that stack script.
And then for PS Type, I also did created Decoy, which is just the exact same fonts from PS Type, just on a different site because I liked the name Decoy. So I have
You're an interesting creature, dude. Well, cool, man. You got anything else on the horizon? Any releases of products? Any new typefaces? Any conferences you're going to be at? Anything like that?
I have a couple typefaces in the works there's one I'm not sure how to finish, so I'm still figuring it out. I don't know which conference. I was thinking of going to Creative South.
Please do it.
But it'll be like a month after we move, so I'm just hoping that I'm like settled in and able to. But yeah, I've only heard good things. So.
If I'm supposed to be teaching a workshop, like it's sounding like I might have an early bird ticket up for grabs.
Oh, all right. Oh, if you do a random drawing, you should choose Mark Caneso as that random person.
Consuelo, got it.
Consuelo, yes, exactly.
All right, well, I'll keep in touch with you about that. But man, anything else?
No, I don't think so.
You're gonna be like a celebrity when you go to Creative South. I hope you know that. You may not like the attention, but you're gonna get it. So maybe you shouldn't go. I don't know.
I'm not gonna go.
All right.
I'll tell people I'm there, and I just won't actually be there. I'll be like, oh, hey, come say hi. I'll be over here,
and then go off in the other place. Gotcha. Decoy,
cool. Exactly.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today with us, man. It's been a treat finally getting to meet you. We've had so many exchanges, but now this is our first time actually talking.
It's the first time talking.
Hopefully it wasn't awkward.
No, not at all.
All right, good, because I don't like when I get super awkward and go on tangents and all that shit, but...
You do have pants on, right? Because I don't.
I don't either. Yeah. Nah. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and have a good one. We'll be in touch.
All right. Talk soon.
All right. Bye. All right. I hope you got something out of that because I know I definitely did. Getting to finally have a conversation with Mark was awesome. Definitely on the list of people I've been dying to talk to for such a long time outside of a micro interaction on social media. For me, it's helped me see that, I sometimes just limit myself by living on paper or somehow just like digitally on this iPad lately. And that there's a whole new world of ways I can create by making something tangible with some depth, or, maybe I'm not pushing things far enough. Hopefully you've learned that it's okay to break the rules. Some of these rules out there are put in place for us to break them because they don't make sense. And I'm not talking about going out and murdering someone, so don't do that. And Scotty said it was okay, because I don't want that. I don't want to be tied to that right now, but break some rules, have some fun with what you're doing, keep playing and keep experimenting and make things that you wish to see. And you never know if that's going to pop off and other people want to see them. Moving forward, this week's dose of inspiration is none other than the one and only Jeffy Thomas of Cut Inc. Studio. Jeffy has a distinct style full of playful illustrations combined with an insane amount of detail. He's also a wizard at cutting paper, hence his handle name, Cut Inc. Studio. Along with the skill set, Jeffy is an amazing human, an amazing friend, and a massive supporter of creatives like you and me in the community. You should follow his work on Instagram at Cut Inc. Studio. That's cut as in CUTTINKSTUDIO. Cut Inc. Studio. If you're enjoying what you hear and you want to support the growth of this show, I have a few ways you can make that happen. The first way is by becoming a backer on patreon.com/perspectivepodcast. Not only can you donate per episode with as little as $1, $3, or $5, and someone put it recently, Patrick, he donated because it's basically just a cup of coffee to him a week, which is awesome. I love that. But I also want to hook you up with some rewards so it's a win-win. And the second way you can support the show is for you crypto heads out there. In the show notes for each episode, I'll have the address for Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin donations if you prefer to go that route. And then finally, you can leave a ratings and review over on iTunes. Please leave the review part. It not only helps the show get discovered, but it gives me an opportunity to give you a nice little thank you plug, like this week's rating and review by LSL Walt. And he says, I've been a listener for 7 months now, and I'm absolutely hooked on Scotty's podcast. Thank you, dude. Not only is Perspective Collective's content amazing, but the ability to relate is the most attractive part of the show. I found this show at a time where I was making great money at a job I hated. Along with motivating factors, I decided to open up my own design and print shop, and it was the best decision of my life. I can't thank him and his guests enough for doing what they do so that I got the push to do what I do. Straight up respect to the homie Scotty, and straight up respect to you, the homie LSL Walt. I wish I knew your real name. Sometimes I wish I knew your guys' real names so I could literally reach out and personally thank you outside of this. Thank you so much for taking the time to write that. I'm so stoked you started your own design and print shop, dude. Good for you, and I hope you just crush it in 2018. And as I wrap things up, I need to give a huge thank you to my good friend Nick Jenkins of Blookah for all the dope theme music you hear on this show. Check them out at SoundCloud or Instagram at Blookah, that's BLOOKAH. And as you finish out your week strong, I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this.